We talking about sports, get ball.
What it do, baby? Yeah.
What it do, you number one podcast listeners? We're back with a brand new episode of the number one podcast in your headphones, Prem Brulee. I'm your host, Premal Bhatt, and this episode I'm joined by my big bro, my cousin, Roshan Bhatt. Welcome back, man.
What's up? What's up? Glad to be back.
Yes, sir. We got a lot to cover. So the last episode we had was an NFL draft preview. We're going to go over some of those things that are pertinent, but I want to give eventually have Thomas back on to do a little analysis after a little while to see how they start to pan out or how they're looking initially. But a lot to cover outside of that because we focused everything on the NFL draft before, so we got to catch back up to the current events in the sports world. So you ready for this?
Yes, sir. It should be a good one. Got a lot of fun petty shit telling this one.
Petty alert, petty alert.
Amen.
Alert.
Right on brand, baby. That's what you came here for,
Yep.
You number one podcast listeners, so we didn't want to let you down. But before we get started, a word from our sponsor, Sleep Battle. This episode of Prem Brulee is sponsored by Sleep Battle, a content creator, photographer, and artist based in Asbury Park, New Jersey. From cinematic stills, unique and classic wedding and elopement photos, even product or commercial photography like you see for the Prem Brulee brand. Sleep Battle is a full-service studio, and stay tuned for their film Please Laugh coming very soon. So visit their Instagram at Sleep Battle, that's SLEEPATTLE, and give at Please Laugh Film a follow while you're at it too. All right, you number one podcast listeners, it is time for Yeah Fam or Nah, and we're going to try to keep it to word association. We got a lot to cover, but feel free to elaborate on any one of these. First up, right on cue, talked about in the opening, the NFL draft happened. Just wanted to recap a few picks here. Bryce Young went number one overall. Most people figured that would happen to Carolina. The Houston Texans took our boy C.J. Stroud. You'd love to see it. The whole family's going to be buying number 7 jerseys.
What it do, baby?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Go Bucks and go Texans to some of you. Then, the surprise of the draft, which I thought was so fun, the Texans traded back up to number 3 to grab pretty much consensus best defensive player Will Anderson Jr. at number 3. They traded up to the Cardinals spot. At number 4, Anthony Richardson was the choice for the Indianapolis Colts. And then it started to deviate a little bit. Devin Witherspoon, the corner from Illinois, went number 5 to Seattle. Another Buckeye went number 6 to Arizona. Paris Johnson Jr., offensive tackle. After Arizona went down to 12, they then traded up to 6. So they came back up to get an offensive tackle, some protection for Kyler Murray once he's recovered. Number 7 was Tyree Wilson. Defensive end went to the Raiders. 8 was a little bit of a surprise. Bijan Robinson, running back out of Texas, went to the Falcons. Jalen Carter slipped to number 9. The Eagles came up and got him, of course. More on that later. And then the Bears got offensive tackle to help protect Justin Fields. Thank goodness. Darnell Wright out of Tennessee went to the Chicago Bears. So obviously went over that big trade, the Texans jumping back up to 3. Before we have a few notes, that trade involved them trading away number 12. They had the 12th pick, which was the Browns' selection from the Deshaun Watson trade. They traded away number 33, so early second-round pick, a first-round draft pick next year, a third-round draft pick next year, in exchange for receiving number 3 and a fourth-round pick in this past draft as well. In the 2023 one. Important to note, if we discuss this trade, the Texans do still own the Browns' first-round pick next year. That is the last pick, I believe, as part of the Deshaun Watson trade. So they do own the Browns pick. They trade away their own first-round pick next year as part of this trade to get Anderson, but they'll still be picking in the first round in the 2024 draft. Just some notes. The first wide receiver wasn't taken until number 20 at Seattle. Seattle selected another Buckeye, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and that started a run of 4 straight wide receivers taken from 20 to 23. The surprise of the draft was 2 running backs taken in the top 12. Already covered Bijan Robinson. Jahmyr Gibbs was drafted at number 12 by the Lions, who ended up with the 12th pick after trading down. Arizona came up to their spot at 6, which was originally the Rams pick, part of that Stafford trade. There's only 1 tight end taken in the first round. That was Dalton Kincaid, and he went number 26 to Buffalo. Some notable players that dropped out of the first round. Quarterback from Kentucky, Will Levis, went number 33 to Tennessee. Joey Porter Jr., corner out of Penn State, ended up going to his dad's former team, the Steelers, the first pick of the second round. Kind of a cool thing. If he's going to drop, it's cool that he gets to go to the Steelers. So he was picked number 32. And then tight end Michael Mayer, who a lot of people thought was the best tight end, was actually the 3rd tight end taken, and that was at number 35. Sam Laporta, who Thomas loved in the draft preview episode, ended up getting picked a selection before Mayer, actually. Mayer ended up on the Raiders. Unlike last year, there were not many player trades like of current players. The one happened in the middle of the draft was the Lions trading DeAndre Swift to the Eagles. After they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, people were kind of wondering about the logjam at running back. They then traded DeAndre Swift that draft weekend. He was a former second-round pick in 2020. So he and a 7th-round pick went to the Eagles in exchange for a 4th-round pick in 2025 and a 7th-round pick in this past draft. So essentially, the Eagles and Lions swapped 7th-round picks in the current draft, and the Lions picked up a future 4th-round pick in exchange for Swift. Okay. All that's a quick synopsis. Obviously, there's a lot more to cover. A lot of things happened in 3 days worth of draft, over nearly 260 players selected. But for me, NFL draft is always a yeah fam. But my word association for this is a phrase. It's media machine. The viewership is crazy. They make a spectacle out of the draft, and it's enormous, especially with these different cities hosting. If you're wondering, next year is in Detroit. This past year is in Kansas City, obviously. But also Media Machine pertains to all that shit talking about CJ Stroud was for what fucking purpose after he ended up going number 2. I don't get the necessity to drag these players' names through the mud. And then you get these crazy narratives that result in someone like Will Levis being told he's enough of a shoo-in to come to the green room for round 1 of the draft and then doesn't get selected. So some of the stuff I think is part of this machine that creates these narratives and convinces these players of certain things, and then they ended up, I don't know, embarrassed. I don't know what the right word is. I can't be in their head because they're still going to end up making millions of dollars, obviously, but it can't be a great feeling to have your whole family there, cameras on you, and waiting all night in the first round. And Will Levis actually said he'd only go there if he was a surefire first-round pick. So he was clearly told that he was going to be, and wasn't. And I think that's a disservice. And part of that is all this time in between these workouts and when the draft actually happens, just to create this media circus, which makes it so entertaining for us. But in addition to that, here's what I'm a nod to. I miss the booze for picks you don't like.
It's the pretty boys
Like,
versus the petty
this
boys.
event has gotten so big that it feels like there's probably a production team where they put the camera on the set of fans whose team's picking, and they always cheer for some like backup center they've never heard of. Like, they don't give a shit about that pick, and they're cheering for it like he's the guy they've always wanted. Bring back the booze. Like, I want to see real visceral reactions to picks that you don't like. Like, if I'm on the screen for the Cowboys pick, I won't listen. Actually, I won't tip what I'm going to say later. Never mind. So I'll leave it there. I want to get your take on this.
I mean, yeah, just to real quick talk about the boos. The Houston fan base famously booed J.J. Watt. So, and, you know, he's a first fucking ballot Hall of Famer, but that just kind of like adds to his story, and I'm sure like he looks back on it and is like kind of like fond of it in a way. Like he's a pretty competitive guy, and he's probably like, fuck y'all. But yeah, I mean, I guess my word association is we back up.
I want you to put the word out there that we back up. Understand me? We back up.
We got CJ Stroud as a Texans fan, you know. It's been a tough few years. It got so bad, as you know, that I was rooting for the Eagles at one point just because Jalen Hurts is from Houston and he threw up the H a few times. So I was reaching. But it's been a tough few years. I'm glad we got Stroud. And do you remember, I don't know if you remember this, but like I don't know how long ago it was, but I think it was sometime during the season, I said I hope they continue to like smear CJ Stroud so he can fall to the Texans. Well, let's fucking go. It worked. Yep. All they needed to do is drop one spot, and it worked.
You made it happen.
You know,
made it happen.
Yeah, it's my fault, Texans fans. So if you want someone to blame if CJ Stroud is amazing, you can thank me later. I will drop the address. You can send your edible arrangements, and I'm totally okay with them giving up the pieces they did to get Anderson. Yeah. I mean, they essentially got 2 number 1 overall picks. They had a bunch of extra picks. They still have a first rounder next year, and
I think that's the key part.
Yeah, and there's a great chance that we weren't going to be in the top 5 next year anyway. You know, in case we wanted like Caleb Williams or Marvin Harrison, I just don't see that happening. I don't think we're going to be that bad. Yeah. Obviously, anything can happen, but yeah. So I'm cool with it. We got 2 number 1 picks, 2 franchise cornerstones, and let's get it.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, you can argue best quarterback in the draft and then best defensive player, and if you're leaving there with that, that's pretty damn good. Yep. Those guys are both going to be worth it, and I think in our group chat we were talking about it. It's you almost have to think of the trade that they pulled as trading for Stroud instead of trading for Anderson, because they had to make that number 2 pick Stroud to make Arizona's number 3 pick valuable. Right. Had they flip-flopped the order, then Arizona could have traded that to anyone for a gaudy price who wanted Stroud. Right. So it's kind of a tricky thing, but originally you look at that number and you're like, they traded an early second this year and a first next year and all these picks, but then you think about it, they still have a first next year, like you said. Yeah. No matter what, even if the Browns somehow do well, which that division's going to be a buzzsaw. Yeah. Like, let's be real. There's a pretty fair chance that they don't make it out of the... Sure, they might not be top 5 bad, but, I mean, as long as you miss the playoffs, you're somewhere near the top 10.
Yeah, I think the ceiling for that division is probably, like, 11-6. Like, I don't see... They're all about the same amount of good. I don't see any team running away with that division. Yeah.
Every team got better, though. Yeah. I mean, think about the Bengals got better. They didn't need a lot. Yeah. The Ravens clearly got better. Yeah. And then the Steelers have made some wise moves. So the only one that's kind of stagnant is the Browns because they didn't have a lot of capital to work with. So, I mean, they still get that pick. No matter what, you're still picking in the first round, which is nice because you don't want to turn into this where you're not picking there. So we're rooting for Stroud. I really hope it works well. But anyway, yeah. Love the draft. Always been a draft nerd, so that part is the best. Okay. Let's move over to the NBA. We haven't got a chance to talk about that, obviously, in a little bit. But the NBA playoffs, round 1 is complete. And this is pretty cool. One of each seed is remaining, 1 through 8. Notably, the number 1 seed Bucks, the top team in the NBA, got eliminated. The number 2 seed Grizzlies in the West got eliminated by the Lakers. The Kings won 7 games with the Warriors but lost. They were 3 seed in the West. And then the 4 seed in the East Cavs looked really bad. Very bad. Like a preliminary, you played yourself. I didn't put them on there, but they looked atrocious. I think Jared Allen admitted the bright lights kind of got to him at least. I don't think he was speaking for other people, but... they did not fare well against the Knicks, the Cavs, being the 4 seed. So they were all eliminated round 1. Obviously, the name of the game in this playoffs has been injuries. You saw Giannis miss time. Joel Embiid hurt his knee heading into the second round. John Morant missed time with his wrist. Kawhi Leonard ended up playing the first 2 games and then apparently has like a meniscus strain or tear.
Yep.
And then injuries are already piling up in the next round. So those are just some of the ones I listed. But what do you got for this one? Yeah, fam or not? And give me a word or two for this.
I mean, yeah, I'm always a yeah fam to the playoffs. It's always a really exciting time. It's just, for some reason, my word this year is obviously upsets. We don't really see a lot of upsets. Kind of following in the steps of March Madness, a lot of those lower seeds did upset the big ones. And I mean, I know the injuries aren't really good, and I don't really know what's to blame there, because you can say load management and all this shit, but you really don't just know, just because like Embiid, Giannis, all these guys, like just unfortunate injuries. And I mean, it was really awesome to see a 1 seed get upset by an 8 seed. That's always really exciting. And you know, when Jimmy Buckets is like on the other end, it's just like great TV. But yeah, I have no qualms with that first round. It went really entertaining for all of us, I think.
Yeah, I'm a yeah fam too. My word is chaos, and I'm here for it. I think the NBA is in a really good spot with a lot of parity across the league. I mean, this is the first year in a while, kind of, and last year too, where you looked at the field and you're like, who's gonna make it? I mean, in the East, you kind of, I think we all got played by the Bucks. Obviously they couldn't plan for Giannis injury, but you always thought they were the best equipped to withstand Giannis being out because they have such a deep roster. They did. Yeah. I mean, they probably played their worst basketball of the year at the wrong time, but there was so much parity in the league, and I think that's a good thing for the NBA. You're seeing a lot. Teams, even with previously not notable names, showing up, at least in the regular season. In the playoffs, it kind of feels like some of the repeat names. I'm really tired of the Snakes of Oakland here. Here they go again, and turning it on right around the playoffs. But okay, that does it for Yeah Fam or Nah. We want to make sure we leave ourselves enough time for the reason you likely came here, which is you played yourself. So let's hit that intro, baby.
Yes, sir.
I'm petty as hell. And I'm super petty. Here we Petty Le Pew. Go.
That's right, you number one podcast listeners. It is time for You Played Yourself, and we got a lot to cover, but I'm sure you figured this was coming up first. The first You Played Yourself goes to Dylan Brooks, John Morant, and the Memphis Grizzlies. This might be up there on one of the most obvious You Played Yourselves in history. This man, Dylan Brooks, talks shit about the GOAT, LeBron James.
I don't care, he's old. I poke bears. I don't respect no one until they come and give me 40.
This Dylan Brooks, this guy talked a big game after their Game 2 win. Keep in mind, they split at that point. It's 1-1 after having 2 games in Memphis. So it's not as if you're feeling that great about it. Game 2 win, that's when he had that quote about LeBron being old. Then proceeded, after they lost most of the rest of the games, ducked media availability 3 out of their last 4 games of the series. I mean, this man couldn't even double down on his take in true petty fashion. Like the true bot way, he couldn't even do that with how much of a troll he is. Instead, he tucked his tail and didn't face the music that he created. This is truly the lamest behavior to run after you created the issue in the first place. I can't imagine a more like fucking lame punk ass move than to do what he did and not face the music. Then somewhere in there where I think the one game he did talk, or it was like the day after Game 3 when he clearly calmed down, he had the audacity to claim that the media created this narrative that he's a villain. Like, we did this for him. We made him say that shit to the press, and we made him unlikable. I mean, give me a fucking break here. We created a narrative that you're a villain. Why on earth would we give a shit about Dylan Brooks? We would not be talking wasting a fucking breath on Dylan Brooks had he not created opened his mouth and created this role for himself. He put himself squarely in the media because he wanted to talk. And he's acting like we identified him as a villain. No, we're not even giving a shit about you. We're not talking about you if you didn't do this yourself.
He's literally the 6th best player on the Grizzlies, if that. Like, this playoffs notwithstanding, he's on paper not a top 5 player on the Grizzlies. I don't know what gave him the audacity to speak up, and I think that is really like my biggest gripe of it all. Like, true trash talkers also know that double downs and even triple downs are like necessary. And so he
stick to your shit.
You know, like Eric Andre meme where it's like him and he's like pointing a gun at the couch and it's himself shooting or like shooting himself.
Yeah.
It's that meme. And he's like, why would the media do this? He's over here talking shit about someone constantly. Never mind, this goes back into the regular season when he started all that shit with Shannon Sharp and even like the Draymond stuff and just all of that. And it's just like, dude, you've been doing this all fucking year. You've been chirping all year about some mid-ass play. And when the lights came on, they were just too bright and he tucked his tail for sure. And, you know, he's a future Shanghai Shark legend now. You know, I had to look this up. The Kaohsiung Steelers, the star of that team is Jeremy Lin. And I hear he needs help. You know, the Taoyuan Leopards.
Jeremy Lin needs help.
Yeah, the Taoyuan Leopards, the star Dwight Howard, he also needs help. He will find work very soon, I'm sure. You know, I'm going to kick it over to one of our correspondents in the field. Shaq, what are your thoughts on this?
Guangdong Tigers. Ni hao! Ni hao! Ni hao! Victory lap!
Yeah, Dylan Brooks is a fucking joke, man.
Oh, and then to put like a cherry on top, this recently dropped from Shams on Twitter. He said this was the verbiage he used in the tweet. The Memphis Grizzlies have informed pending free agent Dylan Brooks that he will not be brought back under any circumstances, league sources say.
You shouldn't have been talking shit.
I mean, damn. Shams added the under any circumstances, like the savage addition to he couldn't just leave it as not be brought back. So what that tells me is I don't think the Grizzlies loved his demeanor and what he made other teammates answer to. It clearly ran its course. I mean, I do want to let's run this down. This same guy talking shit. These are his point totals. Which we'll not even go on point totals. Let's go on field goal percentage.
Yeah, it's way worse. Because the point totals sound not bad.
Not bad for a role player,
Yeah.
right? 5 for 13, 5 for 14, 3 for 13, 4 for 11, 3 for 15, 4 for 11.
You know what they say?
That's-
Those are tour dates. He was dropping tour dates.
Tour fucking dates, like worldwide. And
Yeah.
he's going to be going on worldwide tour.
Yeah.
You named them.
Yeah, but here's like kind of where I zag a little bit. Like I'm all about the downfall of Dylan Bricks, aka Dylan got cooked. But this feels like a little bit of a cop out to me. So many things were wrong with the Grizzlies going into this season in general. Jaws trash talk was there all season. Dylan Brooks has been talking shit all season. Desmond Bane guaranteed a Game 7 after Game 5. The coach, I legitimately do not know his name.
Jenkins.
Okay, Taylor Jenkins.
I think.
Yeah, I don't care about his name because he's probably going to be fired after next season because they'll underperform next season also. He made no adjustments. And I know, like, Dylan Brooks made himself the face of all the trash talk, and, like, he definitely deserved all the vitriol because he was the loudest, but it seems a little bit too petty to drop the under any circumstances because I think it was a collectible team effort, but they definitely needed a scapegoat, and I think it makes them look a little better because they had all these expectations going into the season, and they just literally shot themselves in the foot all fucking season, and it just ended up. I mean, you had all this shit. I mean, play the clip, baby.
Who do you look at around the league as you're studying and say, we're going to have to run through them?
Celtics.
No one in the West.
Nah. I'm fine in the West.
It's a parade inside my city.
Yeah, to your point, the jaw clip's right on cue right there.
Yeah.
And he's the face of their franchise.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're talking about Dylan Brooks, but Dylan Brooks probably obviously been speaking out of turn, but you also have your star doing that shit. So it provides a little extra motivation for a team to fans to want to see this Grizzlies team go down.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those situations where it's like they're acting like they've done something historically. Like the level of shit they're talking is like what you'd expect the Warriors to be able to do, but yet the Grizzlies have done nothing except be like regular season high seeded playoff teams with nothing to show
Yeah,
for it.
their peak has been the
So,
conference finals.
It's always been an issue.
Yeah.
They were the darling. I think we talked about this before in previous episodes. They were like the darling young team that everybody loved watching, and they created this identity as these villains that I don't know why they chose this path where they wanted everyone to hate them. I guess it's like the Dark Knight.
You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yeah.
Quote,
I
you know,
don't know.
like-
And it just overshadowed. It even overshadowed like all this playoff run for them. This quote unquote, if you can call it one. It kind of overshadowed all the Ja stuff from like earlier this year, like him getting suspended
Yep.
from the team. Like they need to get their shit together. That's a talented ass team.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna burn through these contracts and have nothing to show for it. They need to get their shit together because the league is for the taking right now. And if they add one
Yep.
piece or two pieces,
Think about
like,
their core. Yeah.
they're one piece away from being
Yeah.
a severe threat in this league, and they just won't stop being dickheads.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, they have a star player in John Morant. They have Desmond Bane, who's turned into, like, he was incredible
Sniper.
that series. He was,
Yeah.
Yeah. And Defensive Player of the Year in Jaren Jackson Jr. So, I mean, also, Jaren Jackson Jr., side note, you played yourself. I've never seen such a good player pick up the dumbest fouls as a big
Yeah.
man. He picks up so many fouls, like 94 feet away from his own hoop. Like, this dude doesn't get a rebound and reaches, gives a little shove in the backcourt. Like, jog your ass back under the hoop to play defense
Seriously.
without picking up a fucking ticky-tack foul. I couldn't imagine being a Grizzlies fan and watching him waste fouls on stupid shit
Yeah.
like that. But anyway, they've created this narrative. They make it easy to root against them. So you played yourself, especially to Dylan Brooks.
Yes, sir.
A nice segue into the next you played yourself, Draymond the Woat Green. First of all, you know, you got to be on you played yourself because you absolutely stepped on Sabonis. Stop playing us. Don't try to act like where was I supposed to put my foot. Give me a break. You extra stomped on him. We all saw the replay. Don't act like we're dumb here. Also, with the Warriors now facing the Lakers in the second round as 6 and 7 seeds respectively, Draymond said the following after their Game 7 victory against the Kings. Quote, "Stop trying to turn the page on us. Stop trying to turn the page on Braun." End quote. He also called out Dylan Brooks in March, way back in March. He said Dylan Brooks is the reason the Grizzlies wouldn't move on, and it turns out he's at least partly correct. Dylan Brooks did hold them back in the series. I mean, we went through his shooting, even if you take away from the off the court stuff that he talks.
Did you actually go back and listen to Draymond's clip anytime this week? I saw it like pop back up on social media. Dude, everything he said was right. Like 100% of it. If you go back and play it, I was like, he saw everything coming, and that clip was amazing now. Like, it aged like wine.
I mean, as much as I hate to say it, Draymond Green has at least one legitimate ring, and I think that might be it. But he has experience with knowing what works. Like, obviously, he knows what's fake and what's not. So, you know what? The You Played Yourself goes to Draymond. Stop trying to make us like you. I hate it. Don't do this.
Petty alert. Petty alert.
I hate this. So, you got something to add to this?
Yeah, I mean, the number one podcast listeners need to know that this WOT list is not as permanent as the GOAT list. And I can safely say, by complimenting our GOAT, LeBron James, you can find yourself reverse climbing the WOT power rankings. So, you know, kudos to you, Draymond Green, probably future Los Angeles Laker, on figuring out this formula. You know, just keep saying nice things about LeBron and you'll make your way down or up the list, I guess, down the list. and you'll probably end
Yeah.
up being the 10th vote.
Yeah,
at the end of it all.
You know, I hate to hear it. And, you know, Dylan Brooks can't even assume his spot since we don't even know if he'll be in the NBA next season.
Yeah.
It's like you can't even carry the title of vote over
Yeah.
to Dylan because he might be on what's the team again, Shaq?
Guangdong Tigers. Ni hao. Ni hao.
Yeah, the Guangdong Tigers small forward Dylan Brooks.
Next, you played yourself. We're sticking in the NBA. You and I both agreed with this. We kind of talked about it in our family group chat. Giannis Antetokounmpo's comments following the Milwaukee Bucks opening round loss to the Heat. Well, we want you number one podcast listeners to hear what he said in case you missed it or forget what he said. So here it is.
Do you view this season as a failure?
Oh my God. You asked me the same question last year, Eric. Okay. Do you get a promotion every year on your job? No, right? So every year you work is a failure. Yes or no? No. Every year you work towards something, towards a goal, right? Which is to get a promotion, to be able to take care of your family, to be able, I don't know, provide a house for them or take care of your parents. You work towards a goal. It's not a failure. It's steps to success. Michael Jordan played 15 years, won 6 championships. The other 9 years was a failure? That's what you're telling me? No, I'm asking you a question. Yes or no? Okay, exactly. So why are you asking me that question? It's a wrong question. There's no failure in sports.
Okay, so the reason Giannis is on You Played Yourself, this clip was universally praised. It seemed like everyone was picking it up and was like, yeah, Giannis, you tell him. So, you know, it's only right that your favorite petty podcast brings it back down to earth, and we offer you a different perspective. So sound it, baby.
Petty alert.
Yeah, we need that petty alert.
Okay. So this clip, obviously, we just heard it. He was asked if the season was a failure. Not if he was a failure. Not any of that. Okay. He took the answer so far left field and into this like TED Talk. I mean, let's bring it back down to earth here. First of all, before we get started, it's a fair question. Let's get that out of the way. There's a lot of questions that might be stupid or leading the witness, but that's a fucking fair question.
Absolutely.
Let's think about this. The Milwaukee Bucks had the best record in the league. They would have had home court advantage no matter who they played in the playoffs, including if they went to the finals. So them being eliminated by a Miami Heat team who barely made the playoffs and who are without one of their best scorers in Tyler Hero, and they gentlemen swept you 5 games? Like, what are we talking about here? Yes, your season was a fucking failure. You know, Giannis brought up MJ, like, hey, the years he didn't win a championship, do you think he was a failure then? That's not what this is about. We're not saying that it was championship or bust, but let's be real here. The expectation is not to lose in the first round if you're the top seed and you have a deep-ass roster. That's absolutely not in the cards. So if the standard is just making some sort of progress in the playoffs, yeah, your season was a fucking failure. You had Giannis, who was an MVP candidate all year, Brook Lopez, who's a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, Chris Middleton, this deep-ass team, a team universally thought, hey, this is the team best equipped to withstand if Giannis had to miss time, which he did this season, and they still wound up with the best record. Giannis was hurt for a period of the season. You have Drew Holiday as a defensive specialist.
He missed a game in the playoffs, and that was the only game they won.
Yeah.
That team was deep.
Yeah. Nobody was saying it was championship or bust. He asked you if the season was a failure because you just lost to an 8-seed Miami Heat team who barely made the playoffs, who 4 weeks prior, some Heat fans were telling them to tank the season so they could get a better lottery pick. Like, that's how close they were to, like, letting the season go. You want us to listen to your fucking soliloquy of why anytime you work towards something, it's not fail? Yeah, no fucking duh. We don't need the TED Talk on what motivation is. We're asking you if the season was a failure because your team fucking lost to the Heat who barely made the playoffs. What are we even talking about here? Give me a break. And then all these people eating this shit up, like you're gonna put some dramatic music behind it and post your story to motivate people, like
yeah.
Give me a give me a break here. Oh, and then Giannis wants to go on this after. I mean, get this: their elimination game, the Bucks lost by 2 points. Giannis missed 13 free throws, 1-3. He went 10 of 23 from the free throw line. Yes, I know he's not a good free throw shooter, but you want to tell us about motivation? Your season was a failure, and that game was a failure. Yeah, he dropped huge stats, but you could say you were directly responsible for your team losing because you were on the free throw line to win the game. If you shot and even better than 50% or at 50%, your team wins.
Yep.
So what are we even talking about here? Why are we eating this shit up?
Yeah, that good guy shtick doesn't protect you from the criticism of, like, historically choking. If this happens to LeBron, we're hearing about it all off season, along with, is it time for LeBron to retire? Like, we're hearing it nonstop. If LeBron missed 13 free throws, dude, Skip Bayless's Twitter would be covered. His pants would be destroyed. Like, I love Giannis. I love Giannis and, like, the way he approaches the game, but this shit isn't it, man.
Yeah.
I hate turning into an old head, but sometimes the circumstances just bring you here. Yeah. But this shit is so fucking soft, man. Like, as the 1 seed of the entire playoffs, like, you're expected to quite possibly sweep your opening round opponent, especially if you're like a few years removed from back-to-back MVPs, a title. Miami lost to Atlanta in the play-in tournament. They lost to the fucking Hawks.
Yep.
The Hawks suck. You let a team fighting for the 8 seed absolutely dominate you, both ends of the floor. It is 100% a failure. Yeah. Grow up, take that shit on the chin, and come back stronger. You got to shut your YMCA ass, hope everyone had fun ass, at least we tried ass up. That is so lame. I'm so glad that we shared that in the group chat, and, like, our whole petty ass family was like, fuck this. Because... dude, my boss sent this to me and was like, "Did you see this? This is so amazing." I had to, like, lie to her, full cap on, and I was like, "Bro, this is the worst shit I've ever heard." But my favorite, like,
because context matters.
Yeah, context matters of it. Like, you're sending it as a TED talk, like you said.
His speech was fine.
Yeah. If they lose in the conference finals,
fine, but that's not what you were asked.
Yeah. If that speech came after a conference final loss, like Game 6, Game 7, I don't think anyone would have batted an eye at that, bro. You were There's been 6 teams that have lost as a number 1 seed to an 8 seed. That is very small history, like. But my favorite contrarian tweet about it was from a user on Twitter, at m.brown. MDOT Brown. He said, quote, "Can't believe how many people are eating up the fact that Giannis dropped dreams and nightmares for losers."
From the bottom of my heart, I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
I don't think there's been anything more accurate than that. That's great.
It's so good. Yeah. I think the more appropriate response would have been him bringing up his injury or something like, "Hey, this isn't a failure because of all these circumstances." Fine, it would still be an excuse, but at least it'd be a realistic answer. Like, we don't need to hear about MJ or, like, "Hey, just because you didn't get a promotion doesn't mean your job's a failure." That's not what we're talking about, Giannis. So anyway, we'll move on here. I wanted to go over to the NFL here. First up, Baltimore Ravens, you played yourself. They finally signed Lamar Jackson to a 5-year deal worth $260 million, $185 million guaranteed. After all that drama y'all created with the non-exclusive tag, I mean, shame on you.
Yeah.
I'm happy Lamar got his money, but wow, did we waste a lot of time speculating. And, oh, by the way, Small, you played yourself to Lamar because he even posted a goodbye to Baltimore back when he requested a trade. So,
nice little bargaining chip there, Lamar.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm glad he got paid too, but that had to be a little bit of an awkward negotiation situation because, like, both teams are like, "Fuck off," and then they're like, "Oh, well, here's $185 million." What the fuck?
Yeah. Right, they're thanking Jalen Hurts and Jalen Hurts agents because I think that clearly was provided the framework to what they could exceed a little.
Absolutely.
On that same note, similar category here, you played yourself goes to the New York Jets and Green Bay Packers. They finally got the Aaron Rodgers deal done a little bit before the draft, as most people thought would happen. So here are the details of the draft. Aaron Rodgers, pick number 15, a fifth-round pick in this draft, pick 170, were traded from the Packers to the Jets in exchange for pick number 13 in this draft, pick number 42 in this draft, a sixth-round pick in this past draft, which was pick 207, and the one that's getting the most attention is a conditional second-round pick next year's draft, which becomes a first-round pick if Aaron Rodgers plays 65% of the plays this season. So effectively, they swapped picks in this draft. Also, the Packers received a second-round pick, most notably, and a second-round pick next year that turns into a first, depending on if Rodgers plays enough. So while that sounds complicated, all that took that freaking long. I mean, that wasn't that complicated when you look at it listed. So you played yourself, goes to the two of them.
Yeah.
Again, creating drama when we didn't need to. Sticking to the NFL. People inside the league were reported to be not happy with all the praise that Eagles GM Howie Roseman is getting after their draft and moves they've made this offseason combined with last year, trading for DeAndre Swift and the positive draft they had. First of all, like, how about you anonymous people just do a better job? Like, maybe you'll get praised too. I really, I promised I was going to deliver on this, but this has to do with my beloved Cowboys. For whatever reason, I'm still a fan.
So, congratulations.
I really don't get
You
these
played
fucking
yourself.
teams, man. Do you ever consider, I'm talking to these bad teams. Do you ever consider that there's a reason why good teams stay good and bad teams stay bad? I don't want to pick on them because they ended up with a decent draft when you think of it as a whole, but like the Detroit Lions, they were so pumped in their war room as they reached for Jahmyr Gibbs at pick number 12, when wildly people were debating whether he's even worth a first-round pick. If not, it was like, okay, maybe someone gets him in the end of the first-round pick because running backs aren't worth big contracts. You get a fifth year out of him.
Yeah.
Like, what from your draft prep is telling you that only you know something that no other team, no other expert thought of? What made you think that you were so fucking smart that you made this move that you're celebrating like you won the Super Bowl for getting a guy that has no business being picked where he's at? The Cowboys, they took a defensive tackle, Mozzie Smith. This dude wildly had a day 2 grade, like borderline third-round pick, and they took him in round 1. And then, going back to the Eagles, a few picks later, end of the first round, the Eagles pick up Nolan Smith out of Georgia, who was wildly thought he was going to be a mid-first-round pick. They get him at the very end of the first-round pick. These are clear first-round grades falling to nearly round 2, and you want to reach for guys that have no business being on anybody's draft board that high. Why do we praise Roseman? Because he makes the fucking obvious move. Why didn't I make that move?
Yeah, imagine if you just did your job.
Yeah, meanwhile, these fucking front offices think they're geniuses for finding diamonds in the rough, and that's how you wind up with fucking Taco Charlton instead of TJ Watt, you fucking Cowboys. That's right. Like, you think you're so fucking smart because you picked Taco Charlton, and a few picks later, All-Pro Defensive Player of the Year TJ Watt goes, and you want to tell me why you fucking suck every year, and teams like the Steelers have so many Super Bowls and never go below 500. Maybe that's fucking why. Because they're smart enough to make the fucking obvious move. It's not rocket science. You're not that much fucking smarter than all these experts, so maybe you just ask yourself a question. Why is this guy getting praise? And why am I not getting praise? Well, maybe it's because you took a fucking day 2 pick early in the first round and you somehow think you're pulling a fast one on everyone. No, the fuck you're not. Nobody was vying for these guys this early. You're just a fucking idiot. And then you want to be mad that someone else is getting praise? Yeah, they're getting praise because they're not a fucking idiot like you. Let's think about it. Give me a break.
Yeah, I saw that floating around. I thought that was so silly.
You got anything to add to that?
No, I think you covered it.
Anonymous source.
It's like,
put your name on it. You're pissed. You didn't get
that's
attention.
That's exactly where I was going. It's like you want to get so pissed about some guy doing his actual fucking job. Like, his job is to draft a team. Guess what? So is yours, man. He has the same intel as you. He can look at the same fucking mock drafts as you. You know, when you draft for a fantasy team, you're not grabbing a kicker in the round 2, no, you know, whatever, the 49ers, but like, I know we'll talk about that later, but like, you're not grabbing things that you don't need. You're looking at the rankings. You're making your own judgment call based off these rankings, off what your WR1 through WR33 says. Be like, this is kind of a reach, but I'm going to do it. Most people will clown you in a chat and be like, you're fucking reaching. How is this any different? Except you're playing with people's like livelihoods when it comes to these rookies and shit. But you're also, your team's success rides on this. Taco Charlton over TJ Watt is a great example. Bro, yeah. JJ Watt is like the fucking poster boy of like underrated person that was overlooked. Yeah. He dropped to 11. If he was if that year was redrafted, you don't think he's going number 1 overall? Come on. Yep. Follow the fucking blueprint. Draft his fucking brother and hope he's half as good as JJ Watt, and you got a great first round pick. It's crazy. It's dumb. Is Taco still in the league, by the way?
I don't know. He was on the Chiefs for a little. He bounced around a little, like on practice squads and shit.
Well, but, let me tell you, the fact that we're having this conversation in the first place tells you all you need to know.
Nope, he's a free agent.
Yeah, there you go. Good stuff.
Yeah, exactly what you want.
Age 28, free agent. Age 28, you know, linebacker, outside linebacker, free agent. Yeah.
And you know, circling back to the Cowboys, Will McClay, who heads up their scouting, put it this way: like, Will McClay is the highest person on the Cowboys front office that isn't part of nepotism and with the Jones last name. So he's made a lot of great moves. He does a fantastic job. But it still doesn't change the fact that you're making fucking head-scratching moves that don't need to be made. You had plenty of time to get that guy, and it's about value. That pick looks great another time in the draft. And that's what's missing from these fucking GMs. They just don't see that, oh, this player is a good fit, but maybe it's better if we wait a little and maybe we get a best player available. Some of the most successful drafts by the Cowboys have been when they did that. See CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
See Zach Martin. Just make the fucking obvious choice.
Yeah.
And after their good offseason, I mean, anyway. Okay, I want to lighten it up. We want to do some non-sports you played yourselves. I like this section. You know, you and I know you got a real spicy one, so I'm going to save the best for last. I just got a few little minor ones here. First up, mind you played yourself. Cable, like dish streaming services that don't offer deals for like existing customers. It's such a fucking backwards model. It drives me nuts that it feels like I have to shop around places just every couple years, or I got to be on the phone just to re-up a promo code just to get a good price. It's always been the bane of my existence, and I fucking hate it. That's one. The second one kind of happened to me this morning. That fucking when traffic's backed up, like there's a red light ahead, and this is a situation where I need to get all the way from the left lane to the right lane to make the first turn off a highway. And these cars are not going fucking anywhere, but I'm trying to switch into the lane, and the car just creeps up so you can't sneak in front of them, like as if you're going to stop them from where they're going, the 2 inches they're going to pull forward at the red light. Fucking ridiculous. What about your commute's going to get quicker if I just hop in here just to get into a turn lane? Little do you know, I'm just going to go one more lane over, and it's not going to interrupt your day whatsoever. Like, can we just keep it civilized? Like, let your fucking people in and keep it pushing. I've been working on my anger and stuff, so I just gave the guy a thumbs up afterwards in the mirror. I don't know if he thought I was flipping him off, but I was just like, hey, give him a nice friendly honk and gave him a thumbs up just so he thinks about it later. But anyway, those are my you played yourself for this week, this episode. What do you got non-sports related?
I got a couple of spicy ones, but I can't relate to the car one that you have, just because Here in Texas, just everyone drives like an asshole. We're just used to it. You kind of have to.
Yeah.
You kind of have to
I've
take.
driven there. It's
You have
very
to take what you need. Like, if you need to exit and you're in the second lane, you're gonna have to cross over 3 lanes. Make it happen. But
Yes.
yeah, go for it.
So the Midwest is a little, obviously, Midwest different than some places in the South, but I think it's more about like when it's stopped. Like, I'm all about being aggressive when I have an opening.
Right.
Like, I don't need your permission if we're on the highway, but this is like coming off an exit at a fucking red light. I'm just trying to get in my turn lane. So anyway, continue.
All right, so to my immediate retirement, you played yourself. This brings me to a relatively unpopular take. It's wearing out your welcome as a TV show.
All right.
Just because season 1 of a show is amazing does not mean we need 3 to 8 seasons of it. So many shows have suffered from this, and I wish more shows would just be happy with 1 to 2 seasons and have the writers move on to a new concept. You were good enough to make that season as good as it was. You don't need to drag it out. Ted Lasso, I'm specifically looking at you. This new season is buns, and it really puts the ass in Lasso.
What it do, baby?
That's a bar for you people. If there was only 1 season of Ted Lasso, it would probably be one of the best series. It would be one of the best shows ever. I think back to shows like Party Down that only had 2 seasons. I know they just did like a 4-5 episode reunion, but they had 2 seasons, 10 episodes each. Every single episode was incredible, and they just went out on such a high note. I think more shows need to do that.
Yeah.
I don't see, like, so many shows suffered from it. Like The Office, one of the most beloved shows ever, has about 5 seasons it doesn't fucking need. Parks, same thing. I mean, you name it, man. How I Met Your Mother, all these shows have done that, worn out their welcome, way past their time. So that's my first, you played yourself. My second one, this is also a little bit spicy. What needs to be retired is not criticizing your faves. Like your favorite artists, your favorite TV shows, it kind of goes a little, but this is mainly about your favorite artists.
Yeah.
Frank Ocean was the catalyst for this one. Frank, this one's for you. You had folks waiting for years for this moment, for you headlining Coachella, and you let them hose down. Stan culture as it stands is pretty toxic. People online are tweeting and posting shit like, be happy he even showed up, he's going through a lot, blah blah blah. Well look, man, not everyone is sitting at home making money off $25,000 cock rings, making $4 to $8 million for 2 shows at Coachella. Like, these are kids and fans who spent anywhere from like $200 to $1,500 on tickets alone. They're camping throughout the whole weekend, 3-day festival. They've camped throughout the whole thing. You're the last act. You're an hour fucking late. You're playing different. I mean, I understand the artistic choices of playing your songs in a different light, whatever. That's cool. But you're playing these weird interludes. You're not showing your face. There's a whole stage covering up your band and everything that's going on about you. You nixed your production last second, and then you left early, and you had to cut off because your curfew was there. From what I saw, he sounded great, and the thing sounded good, so I get where people are like, oh, be happy with what you got. Bro, I paid $400 to see a 2-hour set. I would like to see a 2-hour set of my favorite artists. Like, it's really that simple. You signed a contract that pays you very handsomely. Google that shit. Coachella headliners get $4 to $8 million for the 2 shows. That is a handsome payment. You have no fucking excuse. I understand your brother might have passed away a few years ago, and if you're not feeling it, then don't sign the contract. Have someone else take the spot. Bad Bunny took the spot. He played 2 amazing headline shows. Blackpink, you name it. All these headliners have come and gone and done their thing. You can't gyp your fans. So all you people need to talk shit about your fucking artists, or they're never going to change. And if you don't talk enough shit, it's going to happen like Kanye, bro. Like, they're all just going to lose their mind, and they're going to disappoint you.
That is, I mean, it's not a hot take because I'm used to it in the family chat, but that's something you taught me. We all were huge Kanye fans. We talked about this when he was Kanye West, before he turned into Ye. So that was one thing that you've taught me. It's okay to be critical of your favorite artist, or she. They can still be your favorite artist. If they do something shitty, it's something shitty no matter what. You know, like, you're not getting paid by them to
Yeah.
blindly follow whatever they do.
At the end of the day, you're putting money in their pockets.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not doing anything for you besides making music and entertaining you. And I get it's like kind of like a whole little show pony and all that shit, but
yeah.
I mean, you're paying for a headline show at the biggest music festival in the country.
Yep.
Show up and play your fucking show, or don't sign the contract, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody made you join.
Yeah, I'm not gonna feel bad when you got paid $4 million to perform for an hour. You're not gonna see me feeling bad.
Shit. Can't imagine the people who bought the second weekend tickets like to see him.
Yeah,
mostly. At least the first weekend saw like half a show.
Yeah.
And I have a friend who went, and he said it was still great, but
yeah, I heard Skrillex put on a really good show. And I mean, you pay for Frank Ocean, you see Blink-182 and Skrillex, you're kind of leaving disappointed either way. But
I agree.
I tried to tell everybody who was excited about Frank, it's not going to go how you planned. But no one wants to listen to me.
Yeah.
I tried to save people money.
Yeah.
That's why I stayed my ass at home.
Yeah.
This doesn't even.
We were talking.
Yeah,
about
this doesn't even touch the fact that he took his stream offline last second, hours before YouTube is supposed to stream his set. He basically refused to make it happen. He said he was not going to perform if Coachella was streaming it. So they had to kill the stream. So I mean, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of fans worldwide were going to tune into that. That sucks. The only one who loses are fans.
Yeah, and that's who's making you money.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, no disagreement here. Just it's okay to have a favorite artist. That doesn't mean blindly follow them. I agree with that.
Yeah,
and you've also taught me that about TV shows. I think people obsess over shows because they remember it in their best light, their best seasons or best episodes, but you have to take them in totality. So that's one of my hot takes. I enjoy The Office, but people revere it, and they ignore all the bad seasons.
Yep.
So, yeah. Anyway, let's move on to who you got and what you're feeling. I'm gonna breeze through some of the draft stuff that Thomas covered. Just wanted to recap some of the things that ended up happening, how he ranked things. But first, you and I, a couple episodes ago, talked about our NBA MVP picks because the race was pretty close between Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, and Giannis.
Yeah.
We both went with Embiid. We kind of thought the narrative was in his favor, that sort of thing. But what was thought to be a close race didn't end up all that close. Right. Embiid won his first MVP with 73 out of the 100 first place votes, so not even close.
Yeah.
Jokic ended up finishing second. He had 15 first place votes. Giannis was close to second. He ended up finishing third. He had 12 first place votes.
Yeah.
They tabulate a total based on like the other votes to second place, third place, all that. So those totals are higher. But anyway, Joel Embiid won his. You could tell he's emotional, so it's cool to see that he really cared about that. He balled out. So okay, obviously last episode was our NFL draft preview. So I wanted to cover some of the notable things that happened. So I'll skip around. Obviously, we covered a lot more. You can go back and listen and maybe compare about with what happened and see how Thomas measured up to what ended up going down. I'm going to skip around. Jalen Carter falling, if he'll fall at all. Thomas really liked Jalen Carter. He didn't fall much. He did fall to 9, which did see somewhat of a drop from what likely his talent had to deal with. We talked about high-profile players we could expect to see moved on draft night. We didn't see very much movement at all, as we talked about. I wanted to talk about this one because he definitely hit on this. One of the number one podcast listeners asked, if you were the Cowboys, who and when would you target at running back and tight end specifically? Obviously, this is partly when Thomas covered Laporta, who didn't end up going to the Cowboys, but one of the names he listed at running back was Deuce Vaughn, the small running back from Kansas State, and the Cowboys sure enough, did pick him in the 6th round. So that was a nice deep cut that he nailed that pick on. We talked about Lamar Jackson situation getting resolved before, during, or after the draft. He thought it'd be after the draft, ended up being before. A user, number one podcast listener, asked about the combination of Young and Stroud going 1-2. Is it worth jumping up to 3 to get Richardson or Levis? Thomas thought neither was worth it, and sure enough, the Texans were the ones that ended up jumping up and got Will Anderson, so that was a nice move for them. Wanted to go over some of the rankings. QB rankings. Thomas hit pretty spot on with how the order went. We talked about kind of the big 5 quarterbacks, Young, Stroud, Richardson, Levis, and then maybe other, but he had Bryce Young, then Stroud, then Richardson, and kind of a sizable gap to Levis, so that's kind of exactly how it played out. His dark horse prospect was Go Cougs Alert Clayton Tune, who ended up getting drafted by the Arizona Cardinals. So Thomas ends up right about this. Clayton Tune might have an opportunity to play.
Nice.
Obviously, Kyler Murray's injured to start the
year. Go Cougs, baby.
Yeah. Wide receiver ranking, he had Jackson Smith and Jigba first, then Addison, then Zay Flowers. He had Josh Downs next, then Quentin Johnson, then Jalen Hyatt. Ended up being a little different. Smith and Jigba was the first receiver off the board, but then started a set of 4 straight receivers that included Johnson, Flowers, and Addison. In I forget what order it happened after that, but obviously Josh Downs he had in there before Quentin Johnson, who went to the Chargers. I also asked him about the over-under for 4.5 wide receivers taken in round 1. He did correctly predict the under.
Nice.
So ended up being those 4, and that's what it stopped at. Tight end ranking, he had Michael Mayer first, then Kincaid, then Laporta, then Musgrave, then Darnell Washington. He did think there'd be 2 in round 1. I think a lot of people did, but it ended up being just 1 tight end taken in round 1, which was kind of surprising. Defensive end ranking, he had Will Anderson first, and then Tyree Wilson. That's kind of how it went. And then cornerback ranking was ended up all over the place. He didn't have Witherspoon high, who ended up going 5, but the Patriots ended up with a steal in Christian Gonzalez, who ended up falling to them after they traded back. So I thought that was low-key a steal of the first round. He had Joey Porter Jr. as his second corner, who didn't end up going to the top of round 2, which was interesting. And the only lock of top prospect he had was Bijan Robinson. And Bijan went really early, number 8 to the Falcons. So that would be interesting to say. Deepest position group he had was tight end, and he was pretty spot on. I think I saw that whopping 9 tight ends went in the first 2 days of the draft, and I think it ended up being 15 total. So quite the deep draft for tight end. Weakest position was safety, and you kind of saw that play out. And then best offensive prospect, he had Bijan, then Smith and Jigba. So we'll see how that pair ends up going. And he really liked Jalen Carter and Christian Gonzalez on defense. So we'll see how they fared too. Okay, everybody wants to know how his mock draft. He had his mock as going Bryce Young, then Stroud. He had Jalen Carter 3 to Arizona, Richardson 4 to Indianapolis, and Will Anderson Jr. 5 to Seattle. He hit 3 out of those 5. Obviously, couldn't predict Houston going back up to 3, but his should draft version ended up kind of a mixture too, because he was big on prioritizing the defensive ends, which didn't end up happening as much. One of his hot takes was Paris Johnson Jr. could surprise in the NFL. Hopefully he's right. Go Bucks alert. He's
yes, sir.
On the Cardinals and seemed very enthusiastic about playing there. So anyway, just some of the little recap. I know I covered quite a bit, but obviously we talked about a lot of things. So, and I think I did a count in our NFL draft preview episode. I think we covered at least somewhat of 31 out of 32 teams. We just covered the Chargers a little with Quentin Johnson, who they ended up with, but that was the one team I don't recall us talking about at some point in our preview episode, so apologies to the 12 Chargers fans out there. Okay, now to this episode's Who You Got. Get a quick kind of rapid fire. Winners and losers in the NFL draft. So I'll go first with I'll cover winners and losers, and then you can do the same, Roche.
All right, sounds good.
My winners of the draft, easily the the Philadelphia Eagles. Their draft we already talked about, and you played yourself, so I won't hash that. I also, obviously the Eagles were the obvious choice, but I also really like the Steelers draft. They got offensive line help in a great value pick in Joey Porter Jr. to start round 2. They also kind of took a low risk, high upside pick in Darnell Washington all the way at pick 93, who some people thought was going to be like a round 2 pick. So I really like those two teams. Obviously, rich get richer. Losers of the draft, I got a few of them. New York Jets, they got bumped from getting an offensive line in their Rodgers trade. They swapped picks with the Packers, and that ended up being crucial in them not getting offensive tackle to protect Rodgers. I obviously didn't like the Cowboys draft. I thought beyond Mozzie Smith, which I can live with, they reached for a tight end in Luke Schoonmaker. I didn't get that one at all, especially with the guys on the board, and neither did any of the rankings. I thought the Jags draft was underwhelming. It seemed like they kept trading back as if they were a Super Bowl team and they could do that. Meanwhile, they didn't really pick up anyone substantial. Kind of a head-scratching move, the Chargers getting Quentin Johnson. It's a weird fit for me because they already have 2 big receivers and they just drafted a third one. So it seems like a lot of people doing Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and now Quentin Johnson doing similar things. And then kind of a consensus pick was the 49ers. They did not have a pick till the 3rd round, but they used one of their 3rd-round picks on a kicker. That's kind of a crazy prospect as well. Yeah. So, all right, who you got for winners and losers of the draft for you?
Yeah, as far as the losers go, I'm kind of with you. Yeah, Jags was pretty underwhelming. As a Texans quote-unquote fan, you kind of look and see what the division rivals are doing, and Colts had a pretty shit draft also outside of getting Richardson. I don't think they did too well. Jags, like you said, underwhelming. And the Titans have Will Levis, so now they have Malik Willis and Will Levis, so I'm like, okay, cool. And Tannehill. So it's like, all right, what the fuck y'all doing? And I think they traded up to get Will Levis, so
they did.
This is like the exact thing you're talking about. Bad teams stay bad, and good teams get. Yep. The rich get richer. And the winners of the NFL draft, as far as my personal winner, is DH Gate. Well-known and established bootleg jersey website. Because of the way the Texans did in the draft, I might be copying a few, bootleg jerseys for Stroud and Anderson, my 2 new best friends. So shout out to DH Gate. Sir. Don't blow up the plug spot, though.
Yeah. On the DL. Number 1 podcast listener.
Yeah.
Okay. We brought this up kind of after the Milwaukee Bucks loss and some other things happening, but I thought this was an interesting one for us to cover. So this year, you brought it up in our text messages too. This sports year has been crazy with first-round exits. Definitely some notable ones. So I wanted to get who you got for worst first-round exit of this past year. The reason this especially came up was recently the Boston Bruins, who had the most points and wins in a season in NHL history, lost their opening round in the Stanley Cup playoffs to a wild card team, the Florida Panthers, and the Florida Panthers were the last wild card team, mind you. So the Boston Bruins lost to them. It was a 7-game series, but they did lose. We covered the aforementioned Milwaukee Bucks. They're the best record in the NBA, 1 seed in the East, deep roster. They lost to the play-in Heat 4-1. The Memphis Grizzlies, no parade inside their city, lost 4-2 to the Lakers. Purdue men's basketball team. They were the second 1 seed ever to lose their opening round. They won the Big Ten regular season and the Big Ten tournament. They lost to 16 seed Fairleigh Dickinson in the NCAA tournament. And then your favorite and my favorite for you played yourself fame is the LA Dodgers. They were the 1 seed in the 2022 MLB playoffs. They won a league best 111 wins last year. They proceeded to lose in the NLDS to the Padres 3-1, who, as everybody knows, are in their own division, so they faced them quite a bit all year, but lost 3-1 when it mattered. So, who you got worst first round exit.
Yeah, that's a lot of good choices right there, but I'm gonna have to go ahead and give it to the Bucks. I mean, hockey is a wild and erratic sport where it seems like this shit kind of happens regularly. As we all know, as huge hockey fans on this podcast, go hockey.
Yeah. Amen. Go Jackets, go hockey, baby.
And, the Jackets, Columbus Blue Jackets, swept the 1 seed, just a few years ago? Like, swept them.
Yeah, Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah. So I think the fact that 1 seed losing to an 8 only happening 6 times prior in the NBA kind of gives it a little more weight. So, sure. I give it to the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah. So, I kind of went back and forth with this. I think the Bucks ran into kind of a wild playoff Jimmy version. Butler went off. Giannis hurt his back for I think it was basically one whole game when he got injured, and then another one.
Yeah.
So that obviously was crucial. I don't know what he was feeling like after that. I agree. NHL seems like a crapshoot because there's so much parity there. Definitely not the Grizzlies because, they made it to 6 games, obviously.
Also, losing to LeBron is nothing to hang your head over.
I think I got to go with the Dodgers. That truly was, I think it got breezed over, but they truly sucked. I mean, when it mattered the most. And obviously it's routine for them to do in October, and I was leaning towards Purdue initially, but then March Madness is a one and done tournament.
Yeah.
So you have to think, hey, if they played a series, theoretically Purdue probably would have won that. They just probably had a bad day or whatever. But so I'm going to go with the Dodgers just because how historic their regular season was, and they lost to a division rival in the playoffs when it mattered most.
Yeah.
Gentlemen swept again. So that's what I leaned to originally because it seemed like everybody else had a more legitimate excuse than they did. So
that's a good point. Yeah, and props to you for doing what apparently I did not want to do, is shit on the Dodgers. One of my favorite things to do. Winning 111 games. That's 5 short of the record. And their run differential was insane. I think their run differential was the highest of all time or something crazy. You had no excuse losing to the fucking Padres.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to what you feeling. I'll let you go first, man.
What am I feeling? I'm feeling summertime in Texas is always a good feeling. I know a lot of people don't like the heat and humidity, but hitting the 1 year mark living in Austin after moving here, so that's pretty cool. I also got a raise at work recently.
Let's go.
So that's always nice.
Our boy's price went up, baby.
Yesterday's price is not today's price.
Yesterday's price is not today's price.
But yeah, and then another host on the podcast, Sonny, he will be in town tomorrow. We are catching Lil Wayne at a very small venue. It's 2,000 capacity. So that should be a pretty interesting experience. Tickets, I'm not sure how I got them, but the resale is stupid. Sonny, if you hear this before the show, I have several times thought about selling the tickets. I could literally pay rent, but we're going to go to this show. We're going to have a good time, bro.
Yeah, so number one podcast listener, Sonny, is I know a lot of people have number one Lil Wayne fans in their life. Sonny is definitely top Lil Wayne fan in my life. He's the
Wayne stan for sure.
Wheezy F baby, and the F stands for that's a fuck ton of money you could get for him.
Yo, the cheapest one I saw was $600, bro. 600. 6 bills. Oh, 2 of them shits. That's half my rent.
Yeah, those were hard tickets to come by. So, love that one. What I'm feeling is my wife and I breezed through Shrinking on Apple TV. I know it's been a popular show for folks, but I think one of the writers from Ted Lasso is responsible for Shrinking. It stars Jason Segel and Harrison Ford. Rest of the cast is really great too. I thought it was a well casted show.
It's Roy Kent, man.
Very enjoyable.
Roy Kent is the writer.
Roy Kent, yeah.
He's there. He's there. He's every fucking where.
Yeah, he's a very interesting story.
Yeah.
He basically nominated himself to auditioned for the role of Roy Kent, he thought he'd be good at it, and sure enough, he was.
Yep.
Because he was hired as a writer for that show, so it's pretty cool. But Shrinking, highly recommended. Such an easy watch. My wife and I breezed through that show. And then, famously, it made its way around the internet, but the Dallas Cowboy scout, Chris Vaughn, getting to call his son Deuce Vaughn to tell him that dad's employer was going to be son's employer as well. That the Cowboys decided to select Deuce Vaughn in their 6th round pick to be a running back in their franchise. It was all the feels. Everybody saw the video by now. I love those draft videos when you literally hear a guy's life change and his family's life change. But that was especially all the feels because, dad getting to call his own son and tell him he's going to play for the team he works for is pretty sweet. And they did everything by the books. Apparently, Chris Vaughn, anytime his son was discussed, left the room. Like, there was nothing under the table going on where it was influence whatsoever. It was just purely the right pick for the franchise. And a bonus, by the way, that was the Cowboys' best value pick of the draft. I thought Deuce Vaughn was incredible at Kansas State, but mainly then the emotions of his dad were incredible to watch immediately.
Yeah.
It was, pretty freaking sweet. So, yeah, that's what I'm feeling. That does it for our content section. I'm going to end this episode with our Too Much Sense. Let's hit that intro, baby.
Let's do it.
All right, you number one podcast listeners, the Too Much Sense for this week is a reminder to those of you who are not always in the mood to talk or reciprocate. When a friend or loved one reaches out, I do have a suggestion for you. Just tell them you're not ignoring them. Maybe just hit them with the, hey, everything's fine, just not in the mood to talk or chat or catch up. I promise you it goes a long way. It's a healthy way to interact and encourages honesty and continued sustained communication, as opposed to interrupted relationships. You never know what people are assuming when you don't answer. This is coming from the perspective of a supportive friend and warrior myself. I cannot lie. Sometimes I irrationally fear that the person I'm checking in on is upset with me when they don't answer. That is when I know full well logically that I didn't do anything that could have possibly upset them. That is what my mind goes through. So, as hypothetical you, the person who's going through something, while it's not your responsibility to worry about the person checking in on you, I do think that at the very least, this kind of communication allows you to let that person who's checking on you know that you saw their message, you appreciate their message, but just not in the right headspace at the moment. Because I'm assuming here, the last thing you want is for that supportive person in your life to not check up on you anymore because they took your no answer as an indication you don't want them reaching out, which even for someone like me is a pretty logical step to take. If someone's not reaching out, hey, maybe it's not a move I should be making. So that's my Too Much Sense for this week. Just a quick, hey, I'll get back to you when I'm ready, but just now's not the time. So that's my Too Much Sense for this week. What do you think?
Solid, man. Solid.
Yes, sir.
Kind of a deeper perspective than usual. A lot of the other ones are kind of like, they almost seem a little more obvious. Like, it's like, oh yeah, that's true. This one is a little bit more philosophical. I can vibe with this one for sure, and I can relate to it.
Yeah, it's a little deep cut.
I'm like that too. If I text someone and they don't answer me or leave my shit on read, my mind goes to like several things. One, it's like, yo, what the fuck? Why the fuck you not answering my stuff? Are you mad at me? Yeah. And then it kind of like spirals out of control from there.
You start thinking
the fuck I do.
Man, the last time I talked to them, was I being kind of spicy or something?
Yeah.
Did I post something that they might be offended by? I'm like,
for sure.
Everything. It's like totally irrational, but definitely a deep cut. Comes from me being on the other side of things. But I can tell you, I would appreciate it if person I'm checking on, hey, okay, I can respect that. You're not ready to talk right now. I can go with that. I'll check in on you another time. But anyway, so you number one podcast listeners, that does it for a brand new episode of the number one podcast in your headphones, Prem Brulee.
Yes,
I've been your host, Premal Bot, joined by my big cousin Rosh. Thanks for joining me, man.
Always.
Thanks for the motivation.
Of course.
You said we got to hop on here. We got a lot to discuss.
Always.
A lot of you played yourselves.
It's a parade inside the podcast. Yeah.
There we go. You number one podcast listeners, you know the drill. Like, review, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. We greatly appreciate all your listens, your shares. I can't thank you enough. How much love the NFL Draft Preview Edition had, but every episode in between, I so appreciate anytime someone tells me they listened or shares so that other people see it. It means the world to me. So you number one podcast listeners, you already know I love you. Keep that energy spicy, and we'll talk to you next episode, baby.
Peace.
Peace.